Hey guys, so you learned about factoring last year in Algebra 1, so this is just a refresher on how to factor. First of all, we factor when we have quadratics, and a quadratic we're going to look at is x squared plus bx plus c. All right, we're not going to worry about if there's a number in front of this. We're just going to we're only going to do problems that have a 1 in front. So when I'm factoring a quadratic like this, I'm looking for what multiplies to c, and adds to b. So when I'm looking at a positive number, when you're multiplying to a positive number, it's going to be positive times positive or negative times negative. Whereas if you're multiplying to a negative number, it has to be a positive times a negative. Those are just some key things to keep in mind as you come up with your sets of numbers to multiply. So let's just do a few. So we have x squared plus 7x plus 12. So we're multiplying to 12, and we're going to add to 7. Now the 7 is positive, so that tells me I'm going to do positive times positive for this 12. If you weren't sure, you could check your negatives times negatives as well. So if I'm looking at things that multiply to 12, I have 1 times 12, but that adds to 13. 2 times 6, but that adds to 8. 3 times 4, that adds to 7. So 3 and 4 are the numbers I'm going to use. And when it says factor, it means I'm going to write it as 2 different factors. One of them is going to be whatever multiplies to get to x squared. So that's x times x is what gets me to x squared. And then it's a positive 3 and a positive 4. So we do plus 3 plus 4. Right? And that's how we would factor that problem. All right, we have x squared plus 12x plus 32. So again, I'm positive 32. We're going to multiply the 32. And we're going to add to 12. So looking at things that multiply to 32, we're going to positive 12. So positive, positive. 1 and 32 adds to 33. 2 and 16 adds to 18. 3 doesn't go into 32. 4 and 8. 4 plus 8 is 12. So that means we're going to have x plus 4 and x plus 8. This next one is a negative 36. So when I'm multiplying to negative 36, I know one's going to have to be positive and one's going to have to be negative. It's the only way we can multiply to a negative number. And we're going to add to positive 5. So that tells me that the bigger number should be positive. So that way I do bigger minus smaller, I still get a positive number. So we have 36 and 1. That adds to 35. We have negative 2 and 18. That adds to 16. Negative 3 and 12. That adds to 9. Negative 4 and 9. That adds to 5. That's our 1. So it's going to be x plus 9, x minus 4. All right, last one of the normal factoring. We're going to multiply to negative 56 and add to, there's really a 1 here, right? So negative 1. So this tells me the bigger number is going to be negative. So when I figure out my numbers for negative 56, I would have 1 and negative 56. That adds to negative 55. 2 and negative 28. That adds to negative 26. 3 doesn't go in. 4 and negative 14. That adds to negative 10. 5 doesn't go in. 6 doesn't go in. 7 and negative 8. That's my pair that adds to negative 1. We have x plus 7, x minus 8. The other kind of factoring you learned about in Algebra 1 was one of the special patterns called difference of perfect squares. So if you had a squared minus b squared, something being squared minus something else being squared, that's going to turn into a plus b times a minus b. A lot of times this first thing is just going to be x squared, so a would just be x, and we would have to take the square root of the second number. We have two options there. You could use your calculator to take the square root, or you're going to have this list of common powers. So here are perfect squares. So if the number was 100, we know the perfect square is 10. The number was 256, we know that's really 16. So you can use this list of perfect squares to take square roots of numbers. So here we have x squared minus 64. So that's really x being squared, and 64 is really 8 being squared. So our factored form is x plus 8, x minus 8, and that's all there is to it. All right, for this one, 196, if I went to my list, 196 is right here. So the square root of 196 is 14. So that means this is x squared and 14 squared. So that's x plus 14, x minus 14. And that is the refresher on factoring.